done for. Everyone get out.
Greetings sailors, welcome back to World of Warships, and we're actually starting off today's video with a clip from LadyAriel here. Not sure if she's a Shakespeare fan or maybe just Disney, who knows. But she's in the Tier 3 Japanese destroyer, the Wakatake, and she's about to demonstrate why colliding with other ships, especially when there are people flinging torpedoes around nearby, is a very bad idea. Now this is actually recorded with Bandicam, and I'm also going to take a moment to talk about viewer replays, because I've been sent a handful, like half a dozen at this point. And I have mentioned this previously, Bandicam basically freaks out when the replays finish. So recording a clip like this is absolutely fine, but trying to record a full replay, unless I stop the software recording just an exact instant before the replay finishes, it basically ruins the whole recording, and the video file is non-functional. So as you can imagine, that is a bit tricky, and I've tried to do it at various points with Bandicam, which as you can see otherwise records perfectly smoothly, but unfortunately after about, an hour and a half of trying and failing, it gets to be a bit too much time spent to try and record just a single replay. So Bandicam seems to be out of the question. Now this is it, by the way. This is the money shot, if you will. This St. Louis and this Chester are about to bump into each other, and that means they are in absolutely no position to evade these torpedoes. So there's one, and there's the other. Yep. And there's a double strike and a devastating strike. Now, unfortunately, she went on to lose this battle, but yeah, she did alright for herself. We're also going to have, in a moment, OBS, which is the other bit of, well, I said the other bit of software I've been using. There's also MSI Afterburner, but that has exactly the same problem as Bandicam does. And Bandicam, in theory, does have a screen record option as opposed to a game client record option, but that doesn't work either. So this is OBS. It doesn't freak out when the replay finishes, but as you can see, the frame rate is absolutely terrible in comparison, even with the same game settings. In fact, even with worse game settings. I cranked everything down to low and it was exactly the same. It was dropping down to single-digit FPS figures, which is just not acceptable in my book. So yes, OBS in theory is fine, and it works with 9.9 World of Tanks replays, which 9.9 replays for World of Tanks, exactly the same thing. The client now just closes immediately after the replay finishes, which Bandicam, as I've said, does not like. But OBS and World of Tanks replays 9.9, absolutely fine. World of Warships, on the other hand, this. So that's no good. So, long story short, basically I am going to, once my Patreon money for the month is in, I'm going to invest in something. A third program, or fourth technically, because obviously there's MSI as well that I've used at various points. Possibly DX Story, possibly Fraps, I don't know. I will investigate. I'm sure there are other options besides. There are, in fact, there are probably loads of options besides, so I'm going to have to do my homework on this one. But I basically want something that isn't going to freak out when it stops, whatever it's recording stops just dead in the water, as it were. So that's very nice about OBS, that OBS doesn't freak out and basically mess up the recording entirely, but as you could see, the frame rate was just not acceptable. Anyway, we're on to a live recorded match, but no commentary, and this is what I've been doing when I've been playing my own games of World of Warships, is unless it's I'm playing with other people, although even then sometimes I record it, but generally speaking I just fire up Bandicam, have it recording, and in between matches I delete the video file so I'm not clogging up my hard drive too much. So consequently I can't show you, I can't hit the Alt key as it is in the default binding to show you the expanded over target markers, and I'm really hoping at some point they implement, as obviously has been in World of Tanks for a very long time, the ability to customize the information you want in the over target markers, because at the moment it is literally just an icon to represent the class of ship And if you're close enough, you can see a thin health bar, but you don't get the full health bar unless you're holding down the Alt key. But the thing about holding down the Alt key as well is it also gives you a bunch of information on estimated time to target and all that kind of thing, and shell travel time, which is a bit, it kind of clutters up the middle of the screen slightly. So it's, and I've watched replays with the Alt key held down, and it's not entirely desirable to do that either, even though it does give you the extra information about what ships you're firing at. So for the time being, I'm just going to have to try and estimate which ships are which, just, you know, guess, try and go by memory, and I don't have them all memorized yet by any means. So anyway, so this thing is, although a destroyer, also equipped with torpedoes, and that's going to come in quite handy at various points in this particular match. As you saw at the very start with the team list with all the ship classes, it's a top tier battle, so it's very nice matchmaking for me, so I don't have to worry about my guns being insufficient in terms of range. The torpedo range is actually, I think, the same as the Wakatake that we saw in the opening clip. I think it's a 7 kilometer range, so again, that is actually pretty good. And I've actually, with the advent of open beta, I've been concentrating a lot more on the Japanese cruisers, and I've also been playing, of course, the American cruisers, because I got up to, with the Americans, I got to tier 6 with the aircraft carrier, tier 5 with the cruisers, or was it? No, I think tier 6 with the cruisers as well, actually. Yes, it was tier 6 with the cruisers, and then I think tier 4, or maybe just tier 5 with the battleships. I think I just got to the New York before closed beta finished. On the Japanese side, it was battleships and destroyers, and I got up to tier 6 with the destroyers and tier 5 with the battleships. So this time round, I'm basically not really bothering with battleships for now. Likewise, aircraft carriers, until they do something about rewards for shooting down aircraft, because at the moment, and as I've said, and other people have agreed with me, the XP rewards and the credit rewards for defending your team at the moment with an aircraft carrier are just completely inadequate to the amount of work that you have to put in if you're doing your job well. And I think it's especially true at the higher tiers, where the planes start to have a lot more health and there's a lot more strategic awareness involved. So I basically dropped some torpedoes not that long ago against a target that they were never going to hit. I should have maybe sent them south, because I had a clear lane that possibly would have been sufficient, but never mind, it doesn't matter. I do actually switch up a lot more, and there we go. Actually, they only just missed that Chester, so having said, I should have sent them south, actually. I came very close to potentially even getting a kill there. But I've been a lot more aware with my cruisers anyway of what ammo type I'm using. And I've actually switched to AP for use against that Chester. Now, for most targets, battleships, destroyers, and usually aircraft carriers as well, you're probably going to want to go for HE ammo. In fact, for battleships, you definitely want to go for HE ammo. And as far as I know, a Citadel penetration with HE is less, it gives you less damage than AP, and I might be wrong about that. I think that's the case, but I might be wrong. So even though it's tempting to keep pummeling away at lightly armoured cruisers with HE, and obviously that's good for setting them on fire, so sometimes you'll want to put some HE volleys into them anyway. For cruisers, most of the time, what I've been doing is switching to AP rounds, and unless I'm getting a lot of bounces, which does still happen, those kind of head-on shots, in fact, are a lot more likely to bounce. I have been, getting some success now with AP against other cruisers, so that seems to be a good rule of thumb. Against other cruisers, in your own cruisers, AP shells, and against most other targets, HE, because I've had very few instances where I've been able to pen a battleship with cruiser AP. Mostly the guns aren't big enough, and you need kind of edge of range plunging fire shots to get those deck penetrations, and that's pure RNG at that point. At the kind of max range of the guns, you're a lot less likely to actually hit what you want to hit. So I'm looping back round to join up with friendly forces at this point. We have this very low health cruiser who is about to, yes, And actually, his wreck eats most of those torpedoes, which it doesn't really matter in this instance, but it's useful to know that ships that have just been destroyed will actually eat torpedoes. So, yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure that is either a Tenryu or a... No, there will be a Tenryu. My opposite number on the enemy team. I vaguely recognise the profile. But anyway, back to AP shells, and a nice citadel hit there, 3,000 damage, not bad, and there we go, finish him off with a torpedo. I probably could have gotten him with another volley, but he was about to get into cover anyway, so that's a useful kill. So this match, in terms of the map control, it was a bit weird because we started off kind of all clustered in the middle, and I changed from west side to the east side, and now I'm heading back over to the west side to group up. But we never really had a lot of map control. However, it was very even all the way along, even so. And map control is not really that much of a thing in this game as compared to World of Tanks, but on some game modes, this one particularly, it does matter, because the more control points, the more cap points that you control, the more ticking victory points you're getting. And we're actually at a fairly good advantage at the moment in terms of victory points, but we're also losing ships, and those lose you victory points. So, yeah, no, it's not quite as good as it seems, just going on the numbers and the score alone. In fact, in the numbers, we're actually now even in terms of ships. And that destroyer that's up in the northwest corner has obviously been causing all kinds of havoc. So that ship right there that I'm shooting at now, by the way, I think that is a Kawachi, although I'm not entirely certain. But for the next couple of minutes, in fact for the rest of the match, he's basically, yes, that's a word, he's basically going to be sitting in that map square, doing not a lot. Well, I say doing not a lot, he is still firing his guns, but he does entirely leave his remaining battleship teammate unsupported, which is not really a good plan, but he does it anyway. So let's fire off a couple of torps. If that other battleship keeps going forward in a straight line, I might get lucky there, you never know. Meanwhile, I turn my turret's attention to this destroyer, who fortunately is very, very low health. One shot will kill him. And there we go, battleship gets him. The battleship also took out the remaining enemy cruiser, so it is literally me and this friendly battleship versus two enemy battleships. And, yep, there he is. It looks like he's actually managed to run aground, which is not so good. Meanwhile, yes, he did just go in a straight line, and I've had my steering knocked out, but I think I'm too busy just enjoying the... Look at that, 2 torpedo hits. That's a lot of his health gone right there. Now, he's repaired that, and in a moment I'm about to notice my propulsion's out, so I should hopefully, you know, my cooldown for my own repairs are done, so anytime now, anytime you feel like it. I'm starting to notice that I'm quite slow. Yeah, I should probably repair the engines, hey? But as that battleship had repaired the flooding, it means he is now on cooldown, so he can't repair the fire. And I was putting in shots, I think the battleship was putting in shots, and I think it was probably that combination of fire and continued HE spam that did for him, so very nice. Meanwhile, that Kawachi, as you can see, not particularly high health, but it's now 2 versus 1. This guy, he kept running aground, or he was just sat stationary and trying to play peekaboo with the scenery. I have no idea, but the fact that he was sat there meant that we could concentrate on that other Kawachi, focused him down, and now we are able to focus this guy down at our leisure. So because they weren't supporting each other, they divide and conquer, basically. We were able to split them apart, or not even we split them apart, they split themselves apart, and we were able to fully take advantage of that. And also I just got high caliber, so that's nice. And talking about not bumping into your allies, as I was at the top of the video, yes, I only just noticed on the minimap that we were on a collision course, and honestly, when you're in the faster, more manoeuvrable ship, it is absolutely your responsibility to pay attention and get out of the way. So we avoided bumping into each other, but only just. And yes, I don't know why I put those torpedoes out. We were well outside range, so they're going to do absolutely no good whatsoever. But it's just a matter of keeping up fire, and there we go. He's down. So High Caliber is a pretty nice award to get in this game, because unlike World of Tanks High Caliber, where the requirements are harder, basically. Although World of Tanks High Caliber is still, you have to do like 20% of the damage to the enemy team by yourself. So it's still not like it's the easiest one to get, but in World of Warships, rather, it's a bit harder. And as you can see, my result there was pretty nice. 1700 XP, the next best person had just over 1000. So I feel like, although it was a very, very close, very even battle all the way along, I feel like it was, my contribution to it was a big part of the reason why it was so close all the way along. And you can see there from the damage, it actually all adds up to a fairly respectable number. I can't do the numbers in my head, but that's got to be, what, 70, 80k damage in a tier 3 battle? Something like that. So, on the whole, I was fairly pleased with that result, as you can imagine, and I've actually held on to the Tenryu because it's a very nice little ship. Although I do now have the Kuma unlocked as well, and that is also a very nice little ship. Although I'm saying very nice little ship, they're actually, you know, dozens of meters long and several thousand, probably thousands of tons, these particular classes of ships. But anyway, yes, not little at all by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, in game terms, little. Yes, I know what I mean. Well, sometimes. So, yes, as I was saying at the start of the video, don't be too discouraged from sending in your own replays. I will figure out how to actually record them eventually. In the meantime, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and, as always, stay tuned for more.